Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the Joe Fleetwood podcast. Before we begin, I need you all to do me a favor. Go ahead, follow me, and subscribe on YouTube. You can find me at joe.fleetwood.podcast on YouTube, and welcome to the show. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Joe Fleetwood podcast. I'm your host, Joe Fleetwood himself. Man, let me say something. I appreciate any and everybody who is listening to this podcast, man. I gotta tell you, I'm happy to be doing it. And one of the things that I do enjoy in life is podcasting because I get the opportunity to provide information and just share my life with you guys. And hopefully, in return, you guys will share something with me. Please feel free to shoot me an email on things that I could do better within the show, or even things that you would like to see in the show, or any guest that you would like to have me reach out to have on, because maybe there's a specific topic that I touched on, and you may know someone who's an actual expert in it, and we can kind of dive and do a deep dive into that subject and get some more information out there to the people in the world like yourself. Also, make sure you check out joefleetwood.net. All of my social media links are posted there. You can also go to the Joe Fleetwood shop. I have a lot of swag on there. I have some new hoodies and long sleeve tees. I also have some, JF logo cups on there, just a bunch of stuff, man. I don't want to get too much into it, man, but there's a lot of swag on the Joe Fleetwood store, so make sure you go to joefleetwood.net and check it out. And once again, that email is joe@joefleetwood.net. But with no further ado, let's get into today's show. Now, one of the things that I love about podcasting, um, or just any type of journalism in general, is solving a problem, identifying a problem, and solving a problem. And with this being a lifestyle and culture type show, and we get into a little bit more than just lifestyle and culture, but that's the basis of the show is lifestyle and culture. I like to talk about a few things that I've been noticing in social media, and of course, social media nowadays is how we all, to a certain degree, consume news and any other life events uh, about people we care about that's going on through social media, right? Even your news outlets have social media accounts in which they post things on, and everybody is on Facebook, Instagram, and app X, formerly known as Twitter. And one of the things that has been weighing heavy on me these days has been uh, the African community within America, the divide, the overall degradation of empathy and sympathy, and our youth wanting to be nothing but savages. Uh, I, I understand um, where the influence comes from, but what I don't understand is why there is not a stand to stand against it, and it bothers me. That's something that weighs heavy on me. I was watching a show with and actually I take that back. It wasn't an actual show. It was a clip, and rapper T.I. was on it. He said that 90% of the issues within the black community can be solved simply through unity. And I 100% believe in that statistic and that stance. I believe it can be solved uh, with unity within our culture. Now, like I said, I've already identified the problem, but identifying the problem is not enough. We have to discuss ultimately how did we get to that problem. Now, we already know through evidence, and you've seen it maybe on some type of Netflix documentary or a History Channel documentary. The U.S. government themselves uh, played a part in the demise of our community. Because if you take a look back in the 60s and 70s, even let's just look at the music in general. The music was different. The music was all about love, unity, uh, power, standing together, doing things as a unit, even the way we operated in our neighborhoods. Not to say that we didn't have our own problems within our neighborhood. That's to be understood, especially coming out of that segregation. Actually, not even the segregation era, but the slave era. Coming out of that era, there were some systematic things that were put in place uh, to continuously keep us in a certain position and a certain place within the realm of socialism and classism. Those things were put there by our own government. But once again, you don't have to, we as a people don't have to stay in that same position. And unity within the community and unity within our culture is enough to kind of move us ahead. And that's just my, now, don't take this as gospel. That is just my personal opinion and what I believe uh, to be true. Now, as I stated, that whole separation within our community, I want to read something to you. Now, we all know who J. Edgar Hoover is. And if you don't know, he was once the head of the FBI. But I want to read something to you uh, from an FBI memo that Edgar Hoover wrote for his counterintelligence intelligence division when it came to the destruction of unity within the black community. So here it is. The purpose of this new counterintelligence endeavor is to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the activities of black nationalists, hate type organizations and groupings, their leadership, spokesmen, and membership and supporters. Now, within that, he specifically pointed out uh, hate type organizations and groups. He further goes on to mention that those hate type organizations, and he pointed to these specific groups individually, were the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Now, I'm not sure how you could categorize a student nonviolent coordinating committee as a hate group. Nothing in that name would lead me to the belief that this is a hate group. The other group he pointed out specifically was the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and the Congress of Racial Equality and the Nation of Islam. Once again, nothing about this spells hate group. I just don't understand. Right. So there was a direct uh, action taken against our community by our own government. Once again, this is something that is not news, and this is not to point fingers. It's to help you to understand how we got to this point, right? Because it's something that was put out by the government. It was released, so we know it happened. So we understand that we were already faced at a disadvantage. Now, let's talk about in how we know unity works. Let's take Black Wall Street. We all know that in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that this group uh, who started Black Wall Street, or this community of black businesses and black owned, homes and neighborhoods were thriving. So much so uh, that it it grew to be known as Black Wall Street. I was watching another article, or watching not watching an article, but reading an article, and then also watching a clip where they were talking about the amount of money that actually circulated within Black Wall Street before a dollar left. So, money that was spent with inside the Black Wall Street community. That money circulated within the community 18 times before it actually left the community, which means that the money that was paid out in wages, that was used to buy groceries, ride the bus, provide laundry service, you name it, go to restaurants, stay in hotels. That money that was made and spent in that community circulated through the business and throughout that community 18 times before it left the community and went somewhere else. And that is how you use unity within your own community in order to grow. I could sit here and give you some numbers about Black Wall Street, but once again, we'd be here for a while, and we're going to get into a lot of different things, and a lot of points that I want to make regarding unity, and then on top of that, the contributions that we've made to other endeavors within the U.S. that while we may be a part of, we may receive some type of financial benefit of, but we ultimately do not control. And because we don't, the narrative of our story can be told by someone else. And that a lot of times that's the problem. When your narrative can be told by someone else without you even having the opportunity to tell your story creates a serious problem, right? Other events where you can tell that unity within us, within our culture, was prominent. The Black Panthers, the MLK boycotts and marches. These are all points in history where it shows us that as a community, as long as we stick together, we can establish, uh, the things that we need in order to feel safe. And once again, you know, I don't think it's an issue for us to want these things, right? I know some people say, well, hey, well, I'll use this. I'll use I'll use the NFL. I'll use the Colin Kaepernick situation, right? People felt like, oh, well, first you felt like it was disrespectful to the flag. Absolutely not. And you can feel however you want to feel about that. That's your own personal opinion, right? But I think they overshadowed the purpose of him kneeling, which was to bring attention to the injustice that was happening at that time, right? That was the whole purpose of him kneeling. People felt like, hey, that's a distraction for what I came to see a football game for. Well, it's not. It's only a distraction if someone else, if the media made it a distraction. They chose to do that. You could have completely left Colin Kaepernick alone and let him continue to kneel. He was asked about it by the media, and then the media took that story and ran with it. But the only thing Colin wanted to do was to bring awareness. So, in that situation, he's bringing awareness to an issue within our community. And people felt like, oh, well, this is not the place to do it. Well, this is the place that I have the widest reach. So on national TV in the middle of a football game. I have the widest reach to do this. You use my name, image, and likeness in order to make money. And the moment I decide to take a stance for something, it's a problem. I will get out here, continue to play football, and do all the things that I'm supposed to do as a football player. And that's what he did. Now, regardless how, and I'm only pointing out the facts. I'm not talking about an emotion or a feeling. You deal with your own emotions and feelings however you want to. I'm simply stating a fact of the purpose and the point of what he did. And you can go back and look at any of his interviews and look at any of the stances that he took with inside the media. But the point that I'm making is this: if we cannot take our God-given abilities and on a stage such as Monday Night Football and address the issues that we have and feel safe doing it, then there shouldn't be an issue with us going somewhere else and starting our own league where we can feel safe doing it. So it's okay if you If you have an issue with it, that's completely fine. But if we go somewhere and try to create our own space, that's a problem too. Like I'm not understanding it too. Either we can feel safe in a space where we help bring billions of dollars to, and talk about the issues that we are having, or we cannot and take it somewhere else. Now, even doing that is a is an issue, because if you look at the big three situation with Ice Cube and the NBA, like and we're talking about players who have since retired from the NBA. These guys are no longer in the league. These are some of your NBA Hall of Famers who are trying to make money after the fact. And the NBA is on the investigation for preventing sponsors from sponsoring the league. And apparently, this has been going on because there's a belief that the NBA wants to acquire the big three. Hey, yeah, I mean, we can do all kind of speculations on that. But the fact is that the NBA is under investigations uh, for tampering with the big three, right? So those are just to point out some examples of you know the issues that I think we're faced with, and then moving forward, in order to fix those issues, we just got to come together and do what's right, man. I mean, if you look at the just LeBron James is worth $1 billion. We got Jay-Z that's worth $1 billion. Oprah, $1 billion. Tyler Perry, $1 billion. We have these $1 billion figures who are in movies, movie making, athletics, and media, all facets of providing the media exposure, the entertainment assistance when it comes to making music and athletic contracts, uh, you know, all of that stuff. We have representation in all of these spaces in order to do all of these things, yet we have made no movement in creating our own leagues. I mean, we had the Negro Baseball League, we had the ABA when we couldn't play for the NBA. So I'm not understanding what is the issue now. There's not, because the money is there. No one can tell me that we don't have the resources in order to do this at all, especially knowing what blacks contribute to spending every year. And if you don't believe that, how many companies has the black dollar bailed out simply just by them advertising, promoting, and catering to us? It happened with Cadillac. It happened with Pepsi. Both of those companies back in the day were on the verge of destruction, going bankrupt. The only reason Cadillac stayed in the business was because one of their mechanics said, "Hey, I work on a lot of cars that are owned by blacks." Cadillac wasn't selling to blacks. Black people, what they were doing in order to get a Cadillac, they would go to one of their white friends, give them the money, and let one of their white friends buy the Cadillac for them. A mechanic realized this because blacks couldn't buy their cars and said, "Hey, we need to start selling to blacks. They're buying our cars. Why don't we go ahead and just start selling to them?" And that's what they started doing. Once they started allowing blacks to buy their cars, black people pretty much saved them. And the same thing happened with Pepsi. So there's a history of this. Another history lesson for those of you who don't know. Let's let's look at WB. Remember that network? Uh, Smart Guy. Smart Guy was one of the episodes on one of the web TV series on WB uh, that had a predominantly all black cast. Well, the WB had several series that had all black cast. What they did was they catered to a black audience. WB got built up when the head of Smart Guy wanted more money because he was the main character, because everybody on Smart Guy was getting paid the same. And Cuba Gooding's brother, Omar Gooding, he talks about this in a few of his interviews. Um, as far as the pay was concerned, they felt it was good money, but the child star who was the main focus of the show at certain he got to a point to where he was like, okay, if I am the star and I am helping us get all of these ratings, then there's absolutely no way my pay should be the same as everybody else. If I am the talent that is bringing the audience, I feel like, yes, I should be getting more money. And from my stance, he's absolutely right. If I am the talent, I am the star. Why am I being paid the same as the support cast? I don't think that's right. So uh, they realized that, hey, we've got in the audience. It's being built up. They took him off the show. The show ended up being uh, canceled, and then WB, uh, once they build up the audience to where they wanted it, they do one or two things: either they move the black shows to another spot, or they cancel them in general. And what WB did, they canceled a few shows, used the audience that they gained in order to sell it to a new company, and then it became I forget the new name, whether it was CWB or something like that. But anyway, it changed once they sold. So they cashed out. You know what I mean? They used the black audience, they used our viewership in order to raise their numbers and sell to the highest bidder. So we know what happens. Now, in today's environment, and I talked about the youth, and one of the characters that we can all agree, and who I, and me personally, before I say his name, I will say this: many of you do not like his delivery, and while his delivery can be callous, and in certain points it can be counterproductive, and that is Charleston White. He openly said that, hey, I played the good guy. I was the guy in these youth centers. I was the guy down at city hall making changes, trying to get these laws changed. I was the community activist. I was the guy that was saying, hey, we need to do better. I was that guy. When I talked a certain way and dressed a certain way, you didn't pay me any attention. But I tell you what, rather than me tell you this, how about we listen to it? This is a clip from when Charleston White was actually on. Um, he was on Cam Newton's. He's on Cam Newton's podcast, right? So what I want to do is, listen. Give me a second here. Let me get my setup going on, and we're gonna play this because I want you guys to hear it. But if you're watching this on YouTube or one of my other channels, I want you to be able to see it and hear the clip.
Because when I wasn't talking like that, wearing a bow tie, y'all wasn't paying me no attention. And I was going to the Supreme Court, changing laws and legislations in this country. I was working with over 50 U.S. congressional members, from Ted Cruz to Mark Rubio, Senator John Cornyn. I was on the front page of the American Bar Association Journal. I had done a study with News 21, Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. Y'all wasn't paying attention then. So, nigga, I gave y'all what y'all want. A ignorant motherfucking nigga that talk like them rappers. Now y'all listening. Now y'all paying attention, huh? I got y'all attention, checkmate. Now let me tell y'all what y'all need to hear. We fucked up as a race of people since y'all so caught up into my delivery. 5% of children now are catching HIV from ages 13 to 21. What y'all worried about? 85% of the new chlamydia, all the new cases are teenagers. What y'all so caught up about? Nigga, only 35% of most kids in inner cities can read on or above their grade level. What the fuck are y'all talking about? These kids can't read. Cause when I
And I think that's enough said right there. I I mean to completely. Like as I watched that, it's more than what he says, but I paid attention to the way Cam Newton responded. And I think that's the way that most people who listen to Charleston White respond. Your initial reaction is, "Oh, this dude is crazy. Oh, he's a character." And then the more you listen, you start to realize he got a point. Because in the beginning of that clip, Cam was smiling, took a few puffs of that cigar, and then he started really tuning in to what was being said. See, at that point, checkmate really happened. Because this character that you're watching is just to get your attention. Now, let me tell you what you really need to hear. Come on, man. It gets no clearer than that. The other reason I like him is because I think he puts a mirror up into the people that our youth admire. You can sit here and tell me that you can get on these songs and you can rap about killing this motherfucker and shooting this person. You can get on these songs and do all of that, but you're only doing that with the destruction of our own neighborhoods and community. Because you're definitely not finna go outside our community and do that because you know what's gonna happen. You know what they got for you. Now, on one hand, you can sit up here and talk to me about, oh, we need reform and change and this, but and then the next day you go out and you give me some of that same old ignorant bullshit. Like at some point, you have to understand what your influence is. Like when I hear him talk about Takashi 6ix9ine, King Von, and all these other rappers who have been in these situations, untimely demise, it's sad. It's sad that these young rappers had to go out the way they did because they had so much life ahead of them. You know, it was so many people that they were bringing up. They had an opportunity to do something great, and then they got here out here in these streets. They took on the facade of the characters that they were imitating. And when life imitates art, you're gonna have to end up living and dying by that sword you imitated. Because if it ain't you, don't be that. Sit down somewhere, get your money. You know, if you're doing shows making 50, 60, 70, $80,000 a show, why are you out here in these streets? Please make that make sense. For the life of me, I will never understand. If I'm on tour and I got a 50 city tour that I'm making $50,000 a show, I'm out here in who streets? Oh no, I ain't out there. I'm in my hotel room working on the next album. I'm in my hotel room cooking. I'm finna get hot. If I didn't got to the point to where, oh no, all right, what's the next move? If I'm getting 50,000 a show right now, hey, who out here getting 80,000? Calling, because I need to figure out how I can get 80 G's a show. But what I need to be working on, what I got to do to get 100 G's a show, what I got to do to headline my own tour. That's what I need to know. I need to know how I can rent out an arena and maybe make me $1 million or $2 million in a night. Because now I'm in that position. Now I'm in that position. That's what I need to know. So no, it ain't making sense. But what does make sense is the method and tools that Charleston White is using in order to bring attention and awareness. I heard LaBouche say, "Hey, I don't want no smoke from Charleston White." So it's on his last interview that he did on the Breakfast Club. Go check it out because he understand like, hey, this dude is no joke. Now, like I said, I don't agree with everything he does, but he 100% on point. And as adults, I can agree to disagree with a person and it not be a situation where I got to spew hate on his name. We just simply don't agree on a certain thing. But please believe I 100% agree with his message because what he's doing is he's taking a mirror and placing it in the face of these individuals who are all about destruction. And I get it. I'm a huge fan of rap. I love rap music. I love the art of it. I love the culture. I love everything about hip hop, from the graffiti to the dance to the DJs to the producers to the MCs. I love everything about hip hop as a whole, but I don't like where it's going. I don't like where it's at. And I think that's something that we need to take back control of the industry. Now, I will say this. Uh D1. And I mentioned D1 in one of my last podcasts. And the reason I mentioned him because he is one who I think is champion that change. I saw him recently on Instagram with Nas. I thought that was a good look. But he's another guy who's saying, hey, take a look at what you're doing, man. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Maybe in the beginning, excuse me, when you first came out, you rapped about certain things that you were a part of, but you no longer living that life, bro. Give me something else. Give me some of substance. Show me what's new. What's new with you? Because I know you ain't still out in these streets. You definitely not catching no bodies, and you definitely ain't selling no bricks. You ain't out here with that work. Not no more. You're not. You're not telling me that. Because if you are, there's a huge problem. There's no way you walking around here free as high profile as you are right now. Because ain't none of that possible. It just ain't. So we didn't, we or I have talked about, the issues that I see, the points in our history where we have made significant progress. And I feel like all of that progress that was made by our ancestors have been wiped off the face of the planet. Um, and I've just mentioned a few billionaires, and to be honest, man, these billionaires are just people like the rest of us, man. And it bothers me. It bothers me to my core to know that I feel this way, and I know there are a million other people who feel the exact same way. But for whatever reason, we cannot get on the same page in order to do better as a race, as a culture, and a community. I am simply, I'm hurt, I'm confused, and for the life of me, I cannot make heads or tails of it. I just can't. But I will say this: I could have 100 million followers, and that's great. I could have 100 million people that follow my podcast. I could have 100 million people who follow, me on social media, and all of that is fine and dandy. But if out of that 100 million people, I don't have not a single genuine person who is actively going to promote change with me, I have nothing. I would much rather have 10,000 committed individuals who are all about positivity, promoting change. And I understand that, bad things are going to happen. Because understand, no one who's successful has gotten there without being a little bit vengeful. It's going to happen. I don't care who you are. But give me those 10,000 people who are committed to making a change, who are committed to 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 developing the resources that we need to take back our community, to take back the resources. And I say take back because that's the thing. And I was speaking on music before because I want you to understand this. The reason why positive music does not get played or does not get the attention that music that talks about selling dope, killing, fucking hoes, slapping bitches don't get promoted as much as the music about love and just straight up lyricism. The reason that music don't get pushed, we don't own Spotify. We don't own Apple Music. You know what I mean? We don't even own the music that gets pushed. We don't own the distribution. You know who own it? And I want you to go, don't take my word for it. Go look it up. Because music is no longer owned by music companies. It's owned by like entertainment groups, like movie groups, Universal, Warner Brothers, Sony. These are individuals who control uh, the music and entertainment outlets. Those are the individuals who control it. We don't have no control over the music and where it goes or how it's used. We no longer even have control over who gets promoted to the top, what music gets played. We have no control over none of this shit. They just simply decide, oh, you talking about destruction? Oh yeah, we finna pump that. Prime example. Man, I'm sitting here listening. I'm scrolling through TikTok. And I mentioned T.I. earlier, but his son, the money, man, let me tell you something. I listened to just a few snippets of the music that Damani is doing on his TikTok page. Hey, now I was a fan. I'm a fan of his pops, but now he just got another fan, and I'm telling you, I'm finna go hard in the paint for him. Like on anything that young man is doing, because the music supports that. I tell you another. And matter of fact, the same thing that I was just talking about, right? How you can have 100 million uh followers. Ryan Leslie. If you don't know who Ryan Leslie is, man, you need to check him out. He's a music producer and an artist, songwriter. He is a brilliant talent in general. Um, but he pulled all his music off of the streaming platforms. Started doing his own thing. Started doing his own thing. You want to copy his music, you got to go straight to his website in order to get his music. Doing his own shows, renting out his own spots. I want you to look at this. I want to put you up on something, right? Now let's just say, because right now, every artist in music is being raped under the streaming thing. 1 billion streams. You can have 1 billion streams. Please tell me why you don't have $1 billion. Of course, we all know the answer to it because you're getting paid less than a cent for each stream. In certain cases, it's 0.00 017 or 13, something like that, depending on the platform. And I think as it stands, streaming platforms, uh, man, I can't remember the name of this platform to save my life. And y'all are gonna kill me, especially me talking about I'm such a huge hip hop fan, right? Uh, let's see, Title. Couldn't even think of it, man. Title right now, Title pays the most when it comes to streaming service. But one of the things I want to point out when it comes to Ryan Leslie, and he was talking about, he doesn't need a whole lot of fans, but if Ryan Leslie did an album and he sold his album, uh, pulling it off streaming platforms, you're going direct to consumer in order to get it. If he sold his album to 100,000 people at $10, that's $1 million straight. And he can take that $1 million and he can continue to do whatever he wants to. But that's just saying at a bare minimum of 100,000 people. Probably sold more than that. But let's just say he didn't. $1 million off of a project that you created. Now you can also uh take those 100,000 people and you can sell merch to them. You can now do tours. You can create your own tour at that point and continue to get money off of that album. At the same time, you can create in your own space at your own time, but you own your content. You own the way your content is consumed. You own the entire process. And to me, if we can actually get back to that point to where we own and control the consumption, but also the way uh, the music is consumed, that in itself will put us in a better position because now we can license the music. When your music shows up, you set your own standard. There's nobody getting a cut, there's nobody getting a fee. The money is all coming to you. So there's so many different dynamics and so many different ways where I think we can get back to owning uh our music, our talent, and our culture. But yeah, man, it's definitely one of those things that I myself personally will continue to struggle um until I see some type of action. You know, I wish I had the ability to talk to the Tyler Perrys. I wish I had the ability to talk to Oprah. I wish I had the ability to talk to, LeBron James, and just to sit down and see, because I know that they have things going on and I know that they are doing good within our community. I just feel like so much more can be done, but they need our support. And that's it, man. And honestly, I wouldn't even the point of the conversation wouldn't even be to ask for anything. Mainly just to support a movement. That's it. That's it. You know what I mean? And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give for my listeners. I'm gonna give you a dream of mine. Um, because when I was in high school, I was an athlete. I played basketball and football. I got hurt in football, stuck with basketball. I even had a basketball scholarship to play in college. But what I want to talk about, and I'm going to end the show with this, because I want people to understand that this is not out the realm of possibility, right? There are millions, hundreds of millions of great athletes that just simply do not get the opportunity to play basketball. If I had my opportunity to create a space, and you can say, "Hey, we got this league, we got that league," and that's cool. But what I would do is I would take my money and go buy land, 100 acres, put a auditorium on it, parking space, basically an athletic facility, right? And I would develop my own league, but I wouldn't develop just any kind of league. Not every kid is going to go to a D1 college. Not every kid who has D1 talent is going to get into college. Not every kid who has D1 talent, goes D1, is going to play in the pros. But we saw what and one did with those players. We saw the noise that and one made. We saw the kind of money and one players got. We saw the kind of uh, structure that and one had. They were able to do and one tours, and one mixtapes, all these different things. They had merch. They had their own shoe. They were even on Good Morning America. So you're not telling me that there's not a lane for it. The professor himself is still making money off of his fame from and one. You can catch him on Instagram. You can catch him on his own Snapchat series, his YouTube channel. He's still playing games. He's touring. He's going different places, playing basketball. So you're not telling me that there's not a place for it, because I know there's a place for it. Kids right now in college are getting NIL deals, name, image, and likeness. We can take some of these players and we can create the same thing. We can create a separate league, and it's very possible because we dictate what's hot. So it's well within the realm of possibility. But I would love to see some type of starter league that was endorsed and pushed by players from the NBA. That way we can create a lane, uh, a place where these athletes with extraordinary and extreme talents can perform and get play and get paid uh, on a stage on a national level. I would love to see something like that. And like I said, it doesn't have to pop right out of the gate. You know what I mean? I think with a lot of planning, a lot of uh, support from current players in the league or ex players. You know what I mean? Coming out, either showing some type of support, maybe even playing in a couple of pickup games or whatnot. But I would just love to see something like that just to get it started. Even if we were talking about, you could do the same thing with a football league. You know what I mean? I would just simply love to see us start something that we actually own and control. I think the big three is definitely a stepping stone for that, because you could go from whatever this league is to the NBA and into the big three. And whatever stage or whatever point you are in life at that moment, there is a league to take you all the way out into retirement. And then even after retirement, there is something there for you throughout the entire process. You know what I mean? So the money making opportunities, it never stops. You know what I mean? So that's just my 2 cents. That's a dream of mine. But I would love to get back to the point to where we have developed unity and an understanding within our race, culture, and community, man. For anyone who set still and listened to this podcast, man, I greatly appreciate you. And I actually would love to get some feedback from you. So please, if you're listening to this on Spotify, I'm gonna attach a poll to it. If you're listening to it or you're watching it on YouTube, man, leave a comment. Feel free to email me at Joe Fleetwood, Joe at joefleetwood.net, excuse me. Um, if you want to get in contact with me, you can also go to my website, joefleetwood.net, in the contacts section, and shoot me a message there, man. Once again, I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time out to listen to me. Make sure you follow me on my social media accounts. You can get the links on my website. And once again, man, God bless and thank you guys for tuning in. I am out. Thank you.